Trapmore gang. Do you remember when 10 inmates busted out of a New Orleans jail? Well, I do, and the authorities do. Now, it was a crazy nationwide manhunt for those 10 prisoners that they could run, but they couldn't hide. They eventually all got busted and all dragged back to jail. Well, one of the most infamous and dangerous inmates that escaped during that time, Derek Groves, has now been sentenced. And tell you what, they didn't just throw the book at him. All right, they threw the whole damn library at him. It is one of the most brutal sentences I've ever seen in my life. And for a couple of years, like a couple of weeks of fun, I don't know if this was worth it. Okay, I'm going to break it all down for you, but I tell you what, he will not be seeing the streets unless he busts out again for a very, very long time. And perhaps it's deserved. But look, let me give you a little recap, okay, for everything that's going on. Let's just revisit what landed him behind bars in the first place and then how fried this whole escape was, okay? Just a quick refresher. This was in May 2025, okay? 10 inmates escaped from the jail in New Orleans, and this triggered a nationwide manhunt. It was out of control. Look at this.
The Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office releasing this new surveillance video where you can actually see the inmates escaping from the detention facility overnight. Authorities are now offering up to a $5,000 reward for any information that could lead to these inmates' capture.
Yeah, that was crazy. Okay, now it was about 5 months. Okay, it was a good run. All right, it was a good run on the run. But within about 5 months, okay, everybody was back behind bars. Everybody was locked. All right, all of the inmates were captured after 5 months on the run. Every single person was back in custody, especially Derek Groves. All right. Basically, it was just, they had they scrawled too easy on the wall. They busted out from this little spot behind the toilet. Okay, it was absolutely wild. All right, they were running rings around the authorities. No doubt they wanted to make an example out of them and just like really put the boot in. Okay, and the final remaining escapee, the last person standing, was Derek Groves. All right, and he was caught all the way in that little spot that I know they're mad at me. People have been telling me they want my head in Atlanta, okay? But that's where they found him, all right? He was found in Atlanta. I don't know, maybe someone told on him. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. That's how they be getting down over there, apparently, all right? But they really caught him up in Atlanta, and he was busted. So you might be wondering, okay, why was he even in jail to begin with? What is the situation? Is this like, a miscarriage of justice? Is this somebody, he shouldn't have been in jail? Like, it's, we got to support him and root for him, let him get his freedom. Not really sure that's the case, all right? His situation is actually so crazy, okay? His criminal history goes all the way back to 2014 when he was charged with attempted murder for shooting his own godfather. So this is just when he was 16 years old, right? 16-year-old indicted in lower 9th Ward shooting. It says a 16-year-old boy was indicted Thursday on an attempted murder charge in connection with a lower 9th Ward shooting that critically injured a man earlier this year. Authorities say our guy, Derek Groves, opened fire on February the 17th in the 6200 block of North Rampart Street, and the shooting victim was struck several times around 7:15 p.m. and was taken to an area hospital for treatment. His current condition was not known. He was facing 10 to 50 years if convicted, okay, and basically they prosecuted him as an adult. And apparently they said he was 15, but it turned out he was 16, all right? But here's the thing, all right? While he was awaiting trial and still behind bars, apparently his own godfather, who he was trying to smoke at a certain point, actually ended up getting murdered. So this says, fatal shooting in Holy Cross neighborhood being investigated by the New Orleans PD. New Orleans police at the scene of a fatal shooting at the intersection of North Rampart Street and Caffin Avenue. A 38-year-old man was killed in a shooting Friday evening, July the 10th, on North Rampart Street near Caffin Avenue. It says the same thing twice, I don't know why. In the Holy Cross neighborhood, New Orleans police said. Police said they responded to a call of shots fired around 7 p.m. and found the man in the street. He'd been shot multiple times and was pronounced dead on the scene. Okay, very, very sad situation. Now, 3 years after the original charge, he would actually be acquitted in the shooting of his own godfather. And this NOLA.com article had more information. It said teen found not guilty of shooting his own godfather in the lower Ninth Ward. All right, it says a teenager that was accused of attempted second-degree murder in connection with a shooting that critically injured a man in the lower Ninth Ward nearly 3 years ago was found not guilty Thursday, February the 9th, by a New Orleans parish jury. Jurors deliberated about 3.5 hours before voting 10-2 to acquit Derek Groves in the shooting of his godfather, Christopher Black Chris Bush, in front of a house near North Rampart and Trico Streets on February the 17th, 2014. He said, my client and I are very grateful that the jury paid careful attention to this case, judged the witnesses' credibility, and saw the state's witnesses lack the necessary amount of credibility to obtain a conviction. All right. Basically, okay, they're saying that Groves was the grandson of the late Kim Groves, the Ninth Ward woman killed, all right, a woman, in October 1999 at the behest of crooked former NOPD officer Len Davis after she made a complaint against him alleging police brutality. Derek Groves was born nearly 3 years after his grandmother's notorious death and was 16-year-old when police accused him of shooting Bush, who was his godfather. Crazy, actually crazy family history with these guys, all right? It said Bush was unavailable to testify against Groves, having been killed in a second shooting on July the 10th, 2015. He had his own godson trying to take him out, and then someone else took him out. 17 months after the juvenile, Groves was accused of trying to end his life. The victim left behind a written statement absolving Groves of blame for his shooting, but state prosecutors presented witness testimony that Bush wrote the statement out of fear for his life. They had him under pressure. All right, the Godfather was under pressure. This ain't like the movie The Godfather. And it says that Bush, who was 37 when he died in the second shooting, had himself been arrested on suspicion of murder. He was accused of joining 2 others in the killing of a man found shot in the head and burned inside the second-floor classroom of the abandoned Alfred Lawless, definitely Lawless, High School in the Ninth Ward on January the 3rd, 2008. Court records show that prosecutors refused the charge against Bush on February the 19th, 2008. No suspect has been charged with Bush's killing in 2015. A portion of Groves' trial took place outside public view as criminal district judge Byron C. Williams ordered his courtroom gallery emptied during the testimony of one key witness, a federal confidential informant working on behalf of the FBI. Another witness, jailed on a material witness warrant and suffering with severe health problems, was hurried into court to have his testimony preserved February the 1st. In a hearing out of concern he might die before the scheduled trial. This is like a movie. It's crazy. Jurors also heard testimony from a man who lived 2 houses down from where Bush first was shot. He testified that he was about 5 feet away when Bush was shot and identified Groves as the gunman. But the witness did not make this statement to police until 2 months after the shooting, after NOPD officers had arrested him on suspicion of possessing crack cocaine. Under the state's habitual offender law, the man faced 20 years to life if convicted of the drug charge. But after telling his story about the murder to police and prosecutors, his charge was amended to possession of drug paraphernalia and he got time served. So they be telling out there too. This witness credibility was further undermined during Schlossman's cross-examination when he admitted to being diagnosed as bipolar and schizophrenic and said that he's off his meds and sometimes sees green people. All right. The slimes are active down there in New Orleans, so maybe those are the green people. But anyway, okay, Derek Groves, all right, he had a second chance at life and apparently got straight to it, got busy once again. He was accused, okay, of being involved in a Mardi Gras shooting that left 2 people dead and 3 others injured. This was a vicious attack.
Now at 8:12 last night, a group of people were in a car on Andrew Street in the lower 9th Ward when another group started firing shots. One victim there died on the scene and another died at the hospital. 3 other people from that shooting are recovering in the hospital here this morning. Now again, 2 of these 3 shootings did take place near the parade route, and those on the parade route, the witnesses say that all of this violence has to stop.
I'm not going to lie, Mardi Gras is a bit frying. I don't know if I'm trying to pull up to Mardi Gras, okay? I definitely want to check out New Orleans at some point, but I ain't going to lie. That shit crazy, okay? Now, this was a crazy incident, okay? This is all the way back in 2018. Now, by December the 9th, 2019, more than a year later, Groves was in custody, and the police would publicly connect him to 2 additional murders and release more details on this absolutely out-of-control Mardi Gras shooting. And basically, he was in a whole world of trouble. Like, they was really saying that he was like King Von out there, okay? This is convicted Mardi Gras killer Derek Woo Groves is now connected to 4 homicides in 2 years. He was smacking shit, okay? And I'm not saying that's a good thing, all right? His trial for a quintuple shooting that left 2 people dead on Fat Tuesday 2018. Prosecutors portrayed Derek Woo Groves as a lower 9th Ward drug dealer with a vicious history despite his relative youth. A judge gave Groves 2 life sentences for the Mardi Gras bloodshed. Wait a minute, is this yeah, that's crazy. They gave him 2 life sentences for the Mardi Gras bloodshed. Okay, and now he faces more charges after an indictment was handed up last week for 2 earlier shootings. Okay, Groves and Alfred Mitchell were charged Thursday with second-degree murder in the killing of Woodrow Smith in the Desire area 2019. Groves alone faces a first-degree murder charge for the slaying of Tyrone Francis in the Lower Ninth Ward on January the 24th, 2019. All told, Orleans Parish prosecutors have connected Groves to 4 homicides in an 18-month span. Okay, this is a dangerous man. This is not who you want escaping from the jail. So the killing started a little over 2 years ago, according to the latest indictment. Police discovered Smith, 35, shot to death in the 3800 block of France Road, July 24th, 2017. Until Thursday's indictment, investigators had never publicly said who was suspected of killing him. In addition to murder, Groves and Mitchell are accused of obstructing the investigation into that fatal shooting. The next shooting Groves was accused of occurred on Mardi Gras night last year. The jury convicted him and Kendall Barnes, 22, of murdering 2 men when they used AK-47 style rifles to open fire on a party of people in front of a house in the 5400 block of St. Claude Avenue. Dozens of bullets were fired, killing 26-year-old Jamar Robinson and 21-year-old Byron Jackson, and 3 other men were wounded. At the double murder trial in October, prosecutors said they believed Groves and Barnes had been hired to kill a man suspected of an earlier shooting. That man escaped with his life. The victims and their killers all knew each other, according to police, and prosecutors said that hours after the shooting, Groves posted a video to social media in which he and Barnes held guns and boasted about killing people. You've got to stop the self-snitching, man. Says Groves had already fallen under the FBI's suspicion, and an agent who was at one point checking Groves' social media posts almost daily quickly saved the video. You told on yourselves, man. Both men were sentenced to life imprisonment last month. Authorities already mentioned Groves' nickname in connection with the Mardi Gras killings in federal court papers September the 18th. 4 months later, Francis was found shot to death in the 1200 block of Delary Street in the evening of January the 24th. Well, now, after multiple delays and mistrials and backtracking and escapes, all right, Groves has finally been fully officially sentenced for his role in these absolutely out of control instances. And he was given, they threw the whole library at him, okay? He apparently got 2 life sentences and 100 years. All right, check this out. This is crazy.
That sentencing comes after years of delays, retrials, and also a historic jailbreak, opening up wounds for those who lost their loved ones and had to go through the process over and over again. Today, they say they finally are getting their justice.
Today marks the conclusion of the final chapter in a long and very painful and deeply disruptive saga.
What should have been a joyful Mardi Gras day in 2018 turned into a nightmare. Jamar Robinson and Byron Jackson were shot and killed. That sent shockwaves through New Orleans. The man responsible, Derek Groves, would spend years fighting accountability.
Imagine going through the same set of facts over and over and over again and thinking that door is closed.
The case stretched across multiple trials, including a retrial required under Louisiana's unanimous jury law. Last October, a unanimous jury convicted Groves on 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder. But before sentencing could happen, Groves escaped from the Orleans Parish Jail, becoming the last inmate at large in one of the largest jailbreaks in Louisiana history.
He's a sociopath who continued to rain down terror on the Lower Ninth Ward, on the people of New Orleans, to his own gain.
In regards to the 2018 shootings, a judge sentenced him to 2 mandatory life sentences, plus additional time for the attempted murders, ensuring he will be spending the rest of his life behind bars.
And today in court, as Groves is getting sentenced to life imprisonment, he's laughing, he's making faces at the victim's family, he's trying to talk to his family.
Prosecutors say this moment is not about the attention surrounding Groves, but about the lives that were taken.
Although Groves got a lot of local, state, and national attention, the real focus should always remain on those lives that were taken.
Now, Groves still faces...
So, yeah, it's crazy to me that somebody like this can even find his way to escape jail. Thankfully, they did find him, okay? I'm not somebody that... We talk about these street stories, these gangsters, these gangster rappers, and obviously these are interesting stories, but bro, this ain't somebody who should just be out here walking around. Made it all the way to Atlanta from New Orleans, breaking out the jail. Now, at the end of the day, this is, look, they're saying he had 4 bodies, was shooting up Mardi Gras, all type of stuff. All right. If anything, he's lucky that he managed to get this far. But clearly, all right, justice does eventually be delivered. And I do say this in a few videos, man. I want to just drop some game and some positivity, okay? This is not the way to go out. This is not the way that you want to go. This is not the way your life should go. This is not the impact that you should be having on your community. And this is really these courtrooms, these scenarios, it ain't really cool. The prison break thing, it was interesting for sure, but like, bro, this guy's gonna just be 2 life sentences plus 100 years. All right, that really is. That was the last hurrah breaking out, okay? And you think they're gonna let you anywhere? Like, he might be solitary for the rest of his life at this point, okay? This ain't cool. This ain't no good way of going out. 4 bodies, unleashed destruction on his community, and now ain't no way they ain't trusting him. Well, they probably ain't even trusting him with a book in his cell at this point, okay? Because he might work something. He might create a fucking paper airplane, fly himself out of there, okay? It is really sad to see how this all works out, man. This is how the streets go. So I hope you found that a little interesting breakdown. I just wanted to do a little update on this story, man, because I know that we followed this with a lot of interest. And, you know, when that prison break was going on, I did the update when everyone got caught, and it was just a crazy story. So Derek Groves, man, yeah, he went out sad, man, but it was just a crazy story at the end of the day. Let me know what you guys think, man. I've got a big David update. I'm going to record it for you tomorrow because I'm just a little bit tired at this point. I appreciate everybody rocking with the last Ratlanta update that I did. A Ratlanta Reloaded. Hey, listen, we had to step one more time, man. 21 talking all that nonsense. We just had to step one more time. But I appreciate you guys watching, man. We're going to be back. I'm going to keep the content fired up. I've been a little bit patchy recently. I was out at the Gunner show, which you saw. You know, I've been cooking crazy content for the main channel. You will not be ready. And trust me, I know you guys are going to enjoy that. And next year, we're going to be launching some crazy new projects. That's all I'm going to say, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys for tapping in, rocking with me as always, man. It's been my pleasure to deliver you the content. I'm going to go to bed. I'll catch you guys in the next video tomorrow. I'm out here, gang. Peace.